That's either Cybern or Aeon tend to be the picks on Bermuda. Considering Sarah is always vetoed, or almost always vetoed, and UEF is not really worth picking generally, unless you have a special plan. But Cybern versus Cybern, mirror matchup for the first match. At the top we will have Tex playing as the green Cybern, and in the bottom we have Turbo as the orange Cybern. Oh, and the Russian other Russian caster instantly leaves. Okay.
That's fine,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Tex calls GG.
Because he likes bottom better, and I agree with him. I like bottom better too. uh,
It's just nicer. Fighting upwards.
yeah, I agree. I don't know what it is. Something psychological. Now the real question is, what do you like more, left versus right or right versus left?
I'd rather be on the left and fight to the right. I feel like that's like sort of the normal video game way to progress.
It kinda is. I'm not really sure if I have any preferences on that, but I definitely prefer to be a bottom over top. Wink. Uh, so for the first start, there's probably gonna be two differentiations between the build orders. I will, because Tex has been kinda playing it a bit special compared to other people on Bermuda. He tends to delay his transfers by a minute or what, but he scales up the scaling in his base by a lot more. So we will probably see Turbo with a quick transport rush and Tex with a later one, but he will sacrifice his transport timing for some scaling at the start. So the real
Tex is a
question is,
player.
yeah, go ahead.
Tex is a player that really likes to delay his transport, either to get scaling or to get early air aggression.
Yeah, that's what I noticed as well. But the real question is, nowadays, because he's done it a few times, people know he's doing it. So the real question is, considering he had the day of prep, will Turbo have made the counter against it? Because there are some counters, because if Turbo, for example, drops on the left side, which is normally Texas drop location, if he drops there early and then drops early on the right side as well before Tex manages to get there, then if he can try to fight for both sides, maybe he will be in a great position and try to deny it from Turbo. Like plans like this are definitely possible. Uh,
Although, I'm starting to believe that Turbo, in fact, did not prep this map. I don't know if you were watching his build there, but he had a massive mass stall and had to pause all of his existing NGs building the air factory.
I saw that they were past here. Also, uh, his engineer is walking into the factory before loading up in the transport. It is very unlucky, so the transport is delayed by another 10 seconds.
And now he's just floating about 70 power a tick. Not the ideal start, but Tex is going for the scaling, so he's not going to punish
Yeah, I mean,
aggressively.
even though the starts may be a bit scuffed, it's not very easy to punish people on Bermuda. Maybe with some very cheesy bombers, but generally the transport almost always lands. Please, he now asks.
All right, Turbo has a full E bar.
And he
This is
asking for
mind
E,
games.
please. Uh,
He needs build
faking.
power, please.
Yeah, that's what he needs. He is building more factories, but he's only building one with one engineer, so not the most optimal start for Turbo, but it is what it is. Tex, as you can see, is now only now getting the transport out, but because there was no aggression from Turbo, and so Tex will just be able to drop his own side, a bit delayed, but I think it will work out for Tex in the end, because there's no real punish for his greed, kinda. I'm not really sure if you should call it greed.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, it's not greedy, it's just solid and slow. Like,
well,
this is the tortoise.
the
And the
thing
tortoise
is,
and the hare.
it's maybe solid and slow, but it can be abused, and that's the thing where it might be greedy. For example, you have the same strategy on the Rosas, where you delay your transport and prefer do the massive scaling in your base. But if your opponent drops both corners, then you're in a tough scenario.
And we're Turbo try to punish this a bit. There's a bomber headed out to the left side as the transport is dropping, but the factories should be done, I think, by the time that bomber gets there.
It's gonna be decently close. Turbo does manage to pick up the first Inti kill, but now it's gonna be a 2 versus 2. It's probably gonna be a bit of draw. Actually, there's 2 Intis coming from Turbo to reinforce. The engineers were split from Tex and he's rushing a radar, so he shouldn't take too much damage from the bomber. Um, the bomber actually doesn't drop its first load because it had no intel probably, and the factory will get up. It'll still kill some, and it bombs the factory apparently. Okay, so the bomber won't do too much damage. There's another bomber out from Tex to top right, so he's gonna trade blows. Although it's a bit later. That's a good bomb. Kills the radar and 3 engineers. So that will delay it by quite a bit. So the bomber with that last bomb, it kinda did its job. It killed the engineers in the end and delays the expansion for a bit.
Yeah, but term the problem is Tex has just outscaled on the back of that early build, and Turbo has a single air factory, while Tex has 4. Plus assist.
Yeah, this is what I kind of noticed yesterday in this game versus Nexus as well. He makes, because of this early build power scaling, he gets a lot more E than his opponent, and with that you can afford the higher number of air factories and make more air. The only thing I wasn't sure about is that even though he had massive E scaling at the start and he was way ahead of his opponent, he got later to tech to air. He delayed his tech to air by a lot, and at some point he stopped scaling the E, and eventually he started stalling E because he just stopped building it, and eventually he needed more. So that was a bit of an issue, and I'm curious whether he has fixed or is gonna try to fix it in this game, because like 4 air factories versus 1, it's nice. He has tons of intis, as you can see, but if you have some tech to gunships, it's way easier to abuse your air advantage than with bombers. And I'd say that like if, for example, if he rushed now tech to air, he has assistance now. Okay, he just started the tech to air with assistance of 6 engineers, and if he just rushes, like he's building some bombers, but if he rushes it a bit quicker and just rushes a few tech to gunships, he can kill so many maxes of Turbo. Turbo has no intis.
Yeah, there's actually just nothing to contest Texas air domination, so that means once the gunships are out, they can just kill whatever they want. And Turbo's just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. So he did make some bombers to use his air, so he will maybe harass the left expansion for a bit, although his intis aren't exactly in position to cover them. They're kind of covering in front of them, but there's some intis from Turbo on the left side that can get him from behind. So also he's rallying them straight over the frigates. And Cyber frigates, pretty good AA. Gets 1 bomb off, kills 6 engineers, 5 engineers.
Value.
That's quite decent, but probably was hoping for a bit more damage.
Tex is just 1 air. Like, we had an air fight, if you can call it that.
I don't think you can call it. There was he won air without fighting. It was 15 versus 3 intis or something.
Those 3 intis tried their best.
But Turbo has a lot more navy factories. He is building 3 on the right side already, so it will be 8 versus 6 at the moment. Then they're both making more as we speak. He also gets the first efficient frig trades because Tex was trying to be more aggressive, but considering it was even, being aggressive means that because of reinforced time you have actually less frigates on the place where the battle happens.
Defender's advantage.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Tex is going to get his T2 P-Gen. He's already building gunships. There's a clear plan here.
Yeah, Turbo also already went to tech to air. So he kind of caught up in the E. And as you can see, Turbo now has 400 more E than Tex does. And he's actually using all of it. Meanwhile, Tex is somehow not stalling, but it's because he finished his Tech 2 P-Gen, but he still doesn't have enough power to spend his mass.
He needs
Because
another P-Gen.
he's floating
And he'll build it.
3000 mass at the moment. So once again, the start is very good with all the power, but the transition into Tech 2 is less than smooth, I'd say. He made it's better than yesterday, but it's still okay. He did instantly start the second P-Gen, so it will be fine eventually. And he's now kind of starting to spend his mass again, but he should be.
We're also seeing T2 land from Tex over on the left side.
Yes.
Building rhinos.
Oh. Yeah, I'm
But
not
this
sure.
run-by is annoying.
Yeah, the run-by is pretty annoying. I kind of expect him to maybe build a few rhinos to defend versus these mantis, and then maybe Ragnars or hoplites after that, because the terrain is very awkward for rhinos on this map. There's a lot of tiny hills that block the shots. Generally, hoplites get more damage in because of that. Of course, they are weaker to air, but he has air control at least for now, so it would make a bit of sense. Yeah, he already built the first hoplite, so
Actually,
his plan.
I'm starting to not like Tex's position as much. Like, he does not have map control. Turbo controls both of these sort of contestable 4-mechs. And Turbo has T2 Navy, building a cruiser, almost done. And a lot more frigates.
He does
Like,
have Tech
what
to
is Tech?
Navy, so from the looks of it, Turbo is actually going kind of all in on Navy. He has so much investment. He is making 90 mass per second, but I'm betting all of it is going into Navy. So he's gonna try to overwhelm Tex with his Navy. Tex is going Tech to Navy now, but it's kind of late. And the issue with Cybern versus Cybern is it's unless you have a massive amount of air, killing Cybern frigates with air is not really something that's generally gonna work out. And of course, there's already a cruiser out. He did finally build a few gunships to try to use his air, so he should be able to clean up the 4-max location on south of his gunships, where he's currently beelining for. He also just took out the 4-maxes from Turbo on the bottom right of his main base, so he's getting a bit of control back, but yeah, the Navy looks pretty dangerous, and Navy can snowball very quickly on this map. If you're out of Navy, it's almost game over. It's almost impossible to recover from that unless you have a massive advantage somewhere else, but currently he does not have that.
To defend these gunships. They're just getting free shots on them for no reason. But I do like the idea, like, the T2 land with the gunship supporting can just come into the main base, perhaps. Like, it's on the table.
Yeah, the issue for Tex is his Navy, because he has less, he's kind of split into two corners, but Turbo should be able to clean up all these Navy factories on the left side if he focuses them, and that will remove so much production from Tex.
Yeah, what's he supposed to do? Like, he needs his production to make enough frigates to keep himself in the water.
Yeah, his push on the left side is doing quite a bit of damage, but his inties are not in position at the moment, so he will actually lose all his gunships.
Yeah, he absolutely cannot afford to lose these gunships. He needs them to escort this push along, and they're just all gonna die.
Yeah, there will be an air fight happening, but Turbo looks to have more inties, although it's very similar, so it's all down to micro. But
this is really close.
Yeah, it's hard to see who's. I think Turbo's gonna win. He seems to have more. Yeah, Turbo is gonna win the air fight as well, and the Navy factories from Tex get killed by all the frigates. And now he's in a tough spot. He's making some turret bombers, but it's Cyber Navy, so at most you can suicide them to maybe kill the single cruiser, but that's not gonna win him the Navy generally.
Yeah, without air control, how is he even supposed to get his bombers over there successfully? Even if he kills the cruiser, the frigates and the inties will clean them up.
Yeah, and now we have Turbo, the one making Corsairs, so he's gonna try to make use of his air win as well.
And the T2 Navy just denies map control, forces techs into this little choke. He's got not a lot of production.
Yeah, he doesn't. And there's so many frigates for Turbo. It's gonna be tough to somehow survive this. The line of attack Turbo is now going for. Okay, he stops. He kind of went for a bit of a bad formation there. But as long as you got, if you guard this area, you have a nice concave you can have on techs, and Navy kind of needs the room to be properly microed. You can see the frigate's pathfinding is absolutely atrocious. They they don't know what to do, and I think he's gonna be choked here.
They're just cannon fodder. Like, the destroyers and the cruisers can just shoot anywhere into this blob and hit a frigate.
Yeah, they're barely missing a single shot because of this, and considering how much Dex invested into Navy as well, just now to try to get back into it, if he loses it, he doesn't really have anything else, and this is probably gonna be a game. If
the torps come in, but it's just there's just so much.
Torps come in, go for the cruiser, but they might kill the cruiser. But yeah, they will kill the cruiser, but all the frigates are left, and that's enough AA to survive tons of torps. And once the Salem's clear up the Navy, they can just walk into the enemy main base.
They will sprout legs and walk.
Turbo starting stealth. That's a sensible decision. He realized that he has kind of won the game unless a snipe happens, but so far it doesn't look like a snipe is coming. Tex is still building torp bombers, but he used them all up on the cruisers, so he has to start from scratch if he wants to go for a snipe.
I think I'm going to chalk this one up to Tex invested a lot in getting a very nice air timing attack, and then he just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, I think as well. That's it's kind of the same issue as yesterday, where there's this opportunity in his build where he can rush a quick tech to air and do damage with it, but he kind of doesn't, and that's a bit of the issue. And Turbo just barely invested in any air at all to start. Like, he got bombed a bit, but he didn't really get punished. And then he just went all in on Navy. And he had almost twice the Navy production of techs.
Like, the sad thing is that despite techs having a possibility of air aggression, Turbo just had map control throughout the early game.
Yeah, Turbo just managed to get the 2 4-max locations in mid. That's like, with the amount of maxes on the map, it's not like they're gonna make a big difference, but it's still 60 mats for free that your opponent is not gonna have.
Yeah, every frigate counts. That is like 4 extra naval factories worth of production for free.
Funnily enough, the Rhinos are making a run by towards Turbo's main base. And
yeah, this is actually working.
It's actually kind of working, yeah. The only issue is it's a bit too late. And also, yeah.
GG.
That's GG.
Really solid from Turbo, though.
That was a really solid game, yes.
He just knew what he wanted, he got his side, and then turned it into a naval victory. Well done.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a quick 1-up for Turbo. And this was... Do you know whose map pick this was?
This was Turbo's map pick.
This was Turbo's map pick, okay. Interesting that he chose to pick it versus Tex, considering Tex actually played quite well on it yesterday.
Yeah, but it worked out for Turbo in the end. He's just very comfortable on Bermuda.